Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Leadership Loophole, the podcast where we break down and explore all management strategies and figure out what works. So, the real stories behind success are all built on people like you. So, I'm your host, O'Shea, and today's episode is all about stepping up, stepping in, and turning things around. We're joined by Rix, newly promoted branch manager of PW Promotions, a fast-growing marketing firm that's known for its high-energy culture and results-driven approach. Rix recently took over an underperforming office and in just a short time has been making waves by shifting the culture and driving serious results. So, Rix, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me, bro.
Yeah, excited to have you here.
Yeah.
So let's dive right into it. All right, you were recently promoted and handed the reins of a challenging office. What was your first reaction when you heard the news?
First reaction, man, is just like, I'm blessed, first off, right? Just to be able to get that type of opportunity, it really just goes to show just like, how much work I put in. And just to know that, I was even considered for that type of opportunity, it was a no-brainer to me that I wanted to take that challenge on. So I was just ecstatic about it. I was actually pretty excited. Like when I flew out here and saw everything, man, it was almost like I was back home. So like, it just made so much sense for me to come back.
Oh, yeah. What was your first impression when you walked in the office?
First impression, man, was just, the people. We got a lot of sharp people. And that's one thing that I really want to, just take advantage of, because this business is all about, helping people grow and helping people get to where they want to be and reach their goals. And I feel like that's something that I've always been inspired to do. And it's really a part of, what I'm trying to build. So,
Nice.
So yeah, man, that's really all it is to it.
Hell yeah. So taking over a new team, it's never an easy task, especially when performance isn't where it should be.
Right.
So what were some of the first obstacles you've faced since coming into the office?
Since being here, man, I mean, some of the first few obstacles I had to face is, trying to get to know the people. Because, like I said, it's really all about the people you have in the office, right? And if you center, your work around them, right, they're going to grow and reach their goals, which ultimately is going to lead you to reaching your goals. And one of the challenges I've had to face is really getting to know everybody. You really got to know them, right, to really understand how you could coach them, right? And they have to know you as well, right? So getting to know you, how you run things, what's your mindset, and like, what you want to bring to the table, what you want to bring to the business, that is like something that, we had early challenges on in the beginning for sure. So, that's been the biggest challenge. Everything else, I mean, it's kind of been like an on-the-fly type of fix for me. Because, like I said, when I was in the growth track myself, I provided the structure for an office full of 35 people. So, by me, knowing the system, knowing, how everything should work in order for you to build almost like a operating machine, when you know that, it's like you want to immediately put that into effect.
Was it easy to identify what you needed to change?
Yeah, 100%. Yes, 100%. As, I watched everything, unfold in the beginning, I was just like, hey, like, this is a better way to do it right now. Right here, right now. Let me actually just set the standard now and show them, okay, look, this is the standard when it comes to this, when it comes to Atmo and getting people in the office and starting the day and all that good stuff. So, yeah, it was real quick, like a real quick change. Everybody was on board and they started flowing.
Did you meet a lot of resistance when you first started implementing everything?
A little bit, right? Because, whenever you raise the standard, right, or if you raise the expectation, and you change the structures and things, right, you start to really see some people, come out of their shell a little bit. So, yeah, 100, yeah.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
So you've already made some big changes. Can you walk us through one or two key strategies that you use to shift that momentum?
So first thing is making sure, you understand who your strongest guys are, right, across the board, right? Office presence, right? Team building, recruiting, in sales, right? Consistency, all that good stuff. You got to know who your best people are, right? And you really have to focus on building your business around those people, right? Like for me, I selected a group of top leaders, right? So I get with those top leaders, right, every night, and I go through a plan with each individual person that they have on their teams and each and every individual person in the office, right? Coming up with a plan. That's where it starts, right? And that's every single day, right? This is not like a weekly thing. Like, this is something you got to do every single day. Like, when I get home from the office, I shower, I do whatever I got to do, I eat and all that good stuff. But after that, I'm immediately trying to come up with a plan for the office, so that way the office could know what the structure is going into the next day, and everybody can improve on their skill set.
So the work never stops for you.
No, never. No.
It is nonstop. How did you build that trust and build the buy-in from your team?
So you got to give them an insight on what you're trying to accomplish, right? And what it's going to take for you to accomplish what it is, right? And what you need them to do, right? You have to make it known to them, what your plans are for the office and the future of the office, but also them, right? Them individually. So I've been conducting a lot of one-on-ones, right? I do one-on-ones every day with all my guys, just so that way I can really, really get to know them, know their outside influences, know how I could coach them, and know where they want to be in the next 2 to 4 months, a year, 2 years, right? So that's really what I'm really focused on too, right? It's just making sure that they know that I'm on their team, right? That I'm trying to push them to grow. Right, I understand the business. I understand that. Look, if you push your people to grow and your people are growing, you're gonna grow.
100%.
Right, you cannot be selfish in this business.
That makes perfect sense. What role did culture play in your strategy?
Oh man, I mean, whenever I was in the growth track, culture was like the biggest thing, man. I mean, we was a real tight knit group. We did team nights every single week. We had office chats. We had all that stuff going on. We had a real bond. And a lot of guys, we all really communicated outside of the office too, right? Doing stuff outside of the office, over the weekends and stuff like that, as a group. That way we can understand each other better. But it also, like I said, it made us more like a family. Like, it's a real, I want to, implement a real family-oriented organization. So that way, it's easier for us to work together, because I don't look at my guys as my sales reps, right? I look at them as my future business partners, right? Because I'm looking at each and every person, and I'm evaluating, okay, you know what I'm saying, what this person need to work on, so that way I can help them get to management, right?
I like that.
Whether that's personal, whether that's, production-wise or growth-wise. Where can I help them?
Mm-hmm. No, I like that. That's a really good take on that. Mm-hmm. So leadership is often about mindset.
Right.
What mindset did you have to adopt to succeed in this new role?
Man, so I got a huge sports background. I played football all throughout college. So I got my degree from Texas Wesleyan University. That's why I played 4 years. I was a first-team all-conference wide out there. Played at Prairie View A&M, so I played Division I football too. And man, like, when I tell you just the amount of dedication and work that I had to put in to be successful at that, at that sport, I mean, it was just unimaginable, man. I mean, my journey coming from high school all the way to college, like, just seeing that whole process and seeing how much work I put in to get the success that I had, right? That's what helped me get the same mindset that I could bring into life and whatever business that I was going to work in. I said, whenever I was playing football, I had to work out, I had to train, I had to do all these things every single day to make sure that I stayed sharp and I stayed better, right? Same thing in life, same thing in this business, right? I got to develop a mindset. Look, there's always something I need to improve on to make myself better, right? Whether that's networking with somebody, whether that's, getting with somebody, right? And getting my team to the next level. So, I definitely plan on continuing to network. I've networked with a few people already, but I want to continue to network. I know I have a conference that I'm going to in Cancun, R&R. Huge conference. I can't wait to network with a lot of people there, know their stories, and know how they're growing their business, so that way I could take some pieces, take the good, leave the bad, put it in mine.
Of course. No, that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Were there any personal habits that you've had to change recently?
Ooh, personal habits I had to change. I would probably say just my procrastination, right? I used to have so much time on my hands, right? Now I don't. So it's like, now I'm like really focused on my business, like, right? Like, I'm not working for another company anymore, right? And I used to always tell myself, I'm like, man, I don't want to keep working for anybody else. I want to work for myself.
Be your own boss.
Right, exactly. And I said, if I'm going to put in all this work, I got to do it for myself. And that's what I've been doing. And, something that's had to change is just the procrastination piece of it. Like, I don't have time to sit around and not think about how I can make myself better.
100%. Are there any mentors or quotes that have helped guide your approach?
So yeah, man. One of my biggest mentors that I've had in my entire life was the woman who raised me, my great grandmother, right? And I named the business after her, right? PW Promotions. Her name was Pearl Warren.
Okay.
And she was, the light of my life, man. She took me to church. She held me accountable. Tell you a little story about her. And, this will kind of give you the picture of just one of how close we was, but also just about the expectations that she had for me. So I was going to church one day, and I remember I told her, I'm like, hey, man, like, I see everybody else wearing Jordans and jeans and all that stuff. And my grandma would be like, no, you're like, whenever you go to church, right, you wear a suit, right? You wear a suit, you look professional. I'm like, okay, no problem, right? I got you, Mom. I'm going to do exactly what you tell me. Because I used to always listen to her. Like, she was my angel, bro. And, I went to church next week, had a suit on. Next thing you know, all the women in church tell me, man, you look good, son, third. And she used to tell me, man, like, always be a leader, right? That was the one thing that she made sure I kept in my mind is always be a leader, never a follower. Cause I remember throughout my childhood, I would always look to my left and my right, and I'd be like, oh, okay, why this person got it better than me? And I feel like right now in life, that's what we all tend to do, right? We see the social media, we see all that stuff, and we just get so caught up in, right, the dream, right, that we not focused on what it takes to actually accomplish it.
100%.
So, we can't be the ones following. We got to set our own wave. And, one thing she always told me, always be a leader, never a follower, right? I was always a leader. Like, literally, I was the captain of the receiving corps. I mean, I spoke at schools. I never wanted to be a follower. I always wanted to be a leader and to do something for myself. So that's going to be something that I push in my office a lot, because we're going to really promote out some great leaders.
So shout out to Grandma for setting up that standard.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So looking back at your progress so far, what are you most proud of?
What I'm most proud of, man, is just how everybody's buying in. Everybody's buying into the culture that I'm trying to build. Everybody's buying into the plan and structure that I bring to the table. Everybody understands, my plan for each and every single one of them, right? And that's the thing I'm most impressed about. We've increased our production, right, since I got here. Last week, we was on like 70-something. Now we pushing 80, 90. So we're growing in that aspect. And that's all while we still cleaning up the lead. So that just goes to show, like, the mentality that these guys have is actually stronger than even they think it is, right? That they can actually push through all the obstacles that the business may bring them, right? Because, we got to do cleanup, right? So I think they all understand that. They all bought in. And they ready to go, and that's the thing I'm really the most impressed about is just how bought into their future that these guys are, and they're ready for change.
It's really refreshing to see how much you believe in your team. You know what I mean?
I do.
Are there any wins, big or small, that stand out to you?
Big wins for me. I mean, obviously it comes in production, right? The increase in production is definitely a big win because you would expect people to kind of fall off with a change of leadership, right? But it's almost like they picking up on where they where they caught up at, but they're also progressing right now that we've increased the structure and standards in the office, right? So that's the small wins for me, right? The fact that we operate and everything in the office like how it should. Also recruiting haven't lost a beat. I mean, we got projected 10 new starts to show up on Monday. Like, that's great, and we got so many leaders that are so hungry and so ready to train. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Those type of wins, right? That's the small wins. But whenever we get them and we trying to get them going, like, that's when we got to really focus and that's when the big wins come, right?
100%.
I feel like this office could create bigger wins than they've had in the past. 100%. They can.
They
right?
can break their own
100%.
Milestones.
Right, 100%. They could exceed their own expectations. Anybody in this world can exceed their own expectations. They just got to have that mentality and put in the work. It's attitude and effort.
With that in mind, what's the biggest shift you've seen so far in the office?
The shift, like I said, man, the culture, the structure, right? Everybody's locked in. They dialed in. Like, especially when it comes to, like, moving stations and getting to different places, right, where they need to learn something, right? I think they also seeing that as, okay, like, we got somebody here that is going to have a plan for us each and every day based off of what I did the day before, right? I feel like we don't take that into account enough. But now it's starting to get there.
No, the structure definitely seems to be coming in for sure.
For sure. Structure is literally everything. Like, my leaders told me today, like, they was like, we love that you write the plan out on the board. That way we can see it and we can actually move to our stations with urgency and get that implemented into our trainees and our entry levels and all the people that we got coming in.
They're not just getting told last minute, hey,
Exactly.
go here, do this.
Exactly.
They already know what's going on. That makes perfect sense.
Right.
For listeners who are stepping up into leadership roles or trying to turn around a tough situation, what advice would you give?
That adversity is temporary, greatness is forever. Adversity is temporary, greatness is forever, right? You gotta, whenever adversity hit, right, I get it, we all human, right? We tie into the emotions of, like, man, like I feel so bad, right? But then we forget, like, what I'm saying? I'm gonna overcome this, right? I'm gonna get through it, right? So adversity is temporary, right? Greatness is forever. If you just push, like, literally, the road to greatness is never easy. It's never easy. You're going to face adversity, right? Same thing with my football experience, right? I faced a lot of injuries in my career, and I've had to overcome them, and I always did, right? Same thing in life, right? I've been in down situations where I didn't really have no money, right? I've been in down situations where I didn't really have as much family support on the back end, right? I've been in those situations, right? But I also know that I'm going to overcome them. It's just all about me and where I go from there. It's not about where I start, it's about where I finish. That's what it's all about, man.
That's beautifully put, actually. Really beautifully put. What is one thing you wish you knew when you started?
One thing I wish I knew when I started, that I was knocking on doors. That I was knocking on doors. Because when I first started, man, I started in Maryland, right? And I got trained, and I was with my guy James. Shout out to James for training me. I was out with Ian too. But I'm going out, man. I'm going to the field, and dude just walk up and start knocking on the door. I'm like, damn, what we is, the feds? Like, what is we? Like, we the feds or something? You know what I'm saying? Like, cause I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I just knew it was a marketing firm. I'm like, okay, what exactly are we marketing?
You didn't know it was direct marketing to the door.
Right, exactly. I didn't know what direct marketing was. I'm like, okay, I'm about to make some phone calls or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? I wish I would have known I was knocking on doors. But nah, man, I ended up falling in love with it because it's like, you really get to build relationships with great people. I've met great people, in this work, in this type of work. And yeah, it's hard work, but I'm telling you, it sets you up for success in the long run. My promoting on a Desi, just seeing and hearing his story and seeing how, he has, built his corporation and his empire. He's a national consultant now. So like, and he's speaking at the conference. So like, just seeing him and his journey and how he's grown, like his corporation, like in 5-6 years, like, bro, that's crazy, And I definitely want to create a foundation for myself like that. So then eventually I can invest in something even bigger, and 100%. I wouldn't have to really do anything, right, man? Because you got a lot of millionaires out there right now that's letting their money work for them. They retiring at like 40 years old, right? And see me now, I'm 24. So it's like, I'm really setting myself up for success, so that's what I look at it as, man.
You definitely got plenty of time to do it. That's
right,
for sure.
and that's the thing, man. That's
doing it early, knocking it out now, then you could enjoy life later on.
Right, exactly. Do all the hard work now, reap the benefits later, right? All
100%.
the stuff that we see on social media about all these rich people doing all these great things, we see them because they put in the work to do it, right? And then we just see it, but we shy away from all that adversity and turmoil and all that stuff that we got to face in order to get there.
Well, people are, the biggest fear in the world is uncertainty.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the biggest leaps of faith come from, the biggest opportunities for success come from the biggest leaps of faith.
Right.
So if you don't take that chance, then you're never going to find it.
Right. And I don't know if you ever saw rich versus poor mindset, but like, the rich, they take risk all the time.
100%.
All the time.
It never stops.
Risk takers, right? That's a rich mindset. You got to be able to take a risk if you want to get to that point.
Yeah. How do you stay motivated during tough weeks?
Man, my why. I remember my why. I remember exactly why I'm doing this, right? And my why is strong, man. I got all younger siblings, right? Joshua, Kason, Tia, and Noah, right? All 4 of my siblings. And I also got younger cousins, right? Like little kids, and they look up to Collier, right? They look up to Rakes, and they love him, right? And I want to pave a way for them and show them, like, look, like, you can accomplish, you know, anything you want in your life, right? But I also want it to be where it's like, you know, you can also ask Big Brother for anything, right? And I'll be here for you, right? Like, I want to eventually put my grandmother on payroll, right? To where she don't gotta depend on her retirement no more. She could go wherever she want, do whatever she want, right? And that's what I'm doing it for, man. Like, you know, I love my family, you know what I'm saying? But I also want to, you know, I'm also doing it for me too, you know what I'm saying? I feel like, you know what I'm saying, everything I done been through, you know, in my journey and everything, you know, I only deserve success. So I'm willing to sacrifice whatever it is to make that happen for myself and for my family.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Before we wrap it up, man, what's next for you and the PW promotions team?
Oh, man, you know, we about to grow. We got some big things coming up, man. We cleaning up the leads, so we about to start getting on a 2 to 3 month rotation. So it's gonna make it a lot easier for the reps to really make some really good money out there, really improve our metrics. You know, showing them the rehash and all that good stuff. But I also plan on, you know, investing a lot more money into recruiting now, so that way we could get more sharp candidates in the building that's ready and eager to learn. We really gonna promote on social media a lot more. We're gonna be really pushing ourselves out, getting the name out there. We already got the logo set up. I set up the business account the other day. So, I mean, we all locked and loaded and ready to go. I mean, I have a plan for this office and this corporation, man, and we about to really do some big things. You know, Frontier, you know, they're our client, you know, and we love them. And, you know, I know they anticipate big things out of us, and they should. They should definitely fasten their seatbelts because, you know, I'm at the right place. I'm definitely where I need to be at, for sure.
That's always a good thing. Always a good thing when you know where you're at.
Right. And you know where you're going.
100%.
You have a plan. That's the even better thing. I know where I'm going. I not just know where I'm at. I know where I'm going.
You just seen it through.
Right. Exactly. I don't know if you ever heard of the poem by Albert Guest or something like that. It's called about See It Through, talking about the process, right, and all that good stuff. But I coach to my guys all the time. Like, you got to fall in love with the process, right? Like, the strongest lions in the jungle,
it's not about the destination. It's about the journey.
Right, exactly. Like, the strongest lions in the jungle, whenever they trained as young cubs, they fall in love with the process. That's what makes them the top of the food chain. And we got to think the same as them, right? We got to fall in love with the process, the ups, the downs, everything, in order for us to get where we need to go.
100%. Well, Ricks, this has been an inspiring conversation, man. Thank you for sharing your journey, and congrats again on the incredible progress.
Man, I appreciate it, man. We got bigger things coming. We ain't done yet.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. Well, that's it today for the Leadership Loophole. Remember, leadership isn't always about walking into the perfect situation. It's about creating one. If you're facing obstacles, take a page from Rick's playbook and lead with vision, stay consistent, and believe in your team. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a review, share it with your friends, and maybe they could use a little bit of inspiration. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Audio Jungle.